Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled 12 Reasons You're Single Even Though You're a Catch. And guys, this article is written by a woman, and she's writing this to convince single women out there the real reasons, in her opinion, why they're still single even though they're a catch. Even though they're in high demand, this is why you're single and you have no man. And I'm doing this, guys, to be perfectly honest, this article or this video is purely for entertainment purposes, okay? For a good laugh. And it's going to show you just how women will delude themselves about a lot of things as opposed to coming to terms with actual reality, right? I mean, how many of you guys have been in a situation where, let's compare this. You get a group of guys and a group of girls. You get a group of guys together, buddies, and the one guy's kind of bummed because, let's just say, his girlfriend broke up with him. Well, more than likely, the guys are going to be direct and tell him, okay, well, dude, she broke up with you because you lost your job and you can't pay the bills. Or she broke up with you because, dude, you got lazy and you gained 40 pounds and you're fat. Or she broke up with you because you started becoming pee-whipped and she lost all respect for you. That's what guys would do, generally. They're going to be direct and honest. You get a bunch of women together, and I'm sure there are some of you guys that have observed this, whether it be girls in your family, friends with, a girlfriend's friends, whatever. She's upset about something. Let's just say she's upset because she's single, can't find that right guy, and her girlfriends, instead of telling her probably what the real truth is, they'll say it's all these other external factors, not her, because of course it's not her fault. They'll say, oh, it's not your fault, you're a catch, because it's not because you're too picky, or it's not you're not too picky, it's not because you have a rotten personality, it's not because you have an ass the size of a hippopotamus. No. It's because it's because of them. It's not your fault. You see what I'm getting with this, guys? The delusion here. And this whole article is these ridiculous reasons trying to convince women this is why you are alone and haven't found that guy, even though you're a catch. Just something for a good laugh here. So it's a little long, but I'm going to jump right into it. It starts off, says, trust me, this is most definitely not your fault. Well, that kind of sums up the whole thing. As for dating, a big number of women feel that the relationship gods, such as Cupid and others, are being veiled to them because they are a good catch, but still don't seem to get a suitable partner. If you're so much, believe me, if a woman really is a catch, really is a catch, looks, body type, all that, and notice as a man I said looks and body type first because that's the most important thing to us, she's going to have no problem getting guys. So believe me, if she can't get guys, something's wrong. And obviously probably the first area is the looks and body type department, or personality, or age. Most of them compare themselves to people in their surroundings who are in a relationship or happily married, and believe they've been cursed since they do not have someone to spend their lives with. It says, you're stunning, why are you single? If people around you ask you this question and you don't know how to answer it, don't put all the blame on yourself. What I tell you, it's not your fault. Blame everything else but yourself. Instead, look at the following list to see if you can figure out what's lacking in your life. Number 1, you have more urgent priorities right now. It's not a terrible thing if you've been concentrating on other significant goals, whether daily or yearly, business or personal. If you can't commit to a relationship because you have more essential priorities, that's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's admirable of you to be so forthright. It is beneficial. If you have other things to accomplish in your everyday life, don't put them off only for a relationship. There's a high probability you're fixated on them for a reason. Well, the relationship is obviously a priority for them, if indeed that's what they're talking about here. So, number 2, you are contentedly single and do not want to be in a relationship at all. Not everyone requires a companion to be happy. Some people rely on friends and family or pets, could you be talking about cats, to make them happy. Some folks simply require their own happiness everywhere they go. If you're happy exactly the way you are, don't waste your time seeking a relationship. Your relationship status does not decide your worth. This being written to, obviously, a very large single population of women that spend their 20s pursuing all their goals and ambitions, kind of like a guy would, riding the carousel now in their 30s, and deep down want to be on their way to the altar, want to have a guy, but their prime is now over, and it's not as easy as it once was. And it's easier to say, oh, you're focusing on yourself and being a career woman, being successful. It's not your fault. But deep down, ultimately, they all want to have a guy, at least at some point, some guy to show that he's serious about them, to show the world that, hey, I'm not just the girl that every guy would line up and hook up with. There's actually a guy who actually wants to be with me. Your relationship status does not decide your worth. Unsurprisingly, successful women love their single life and do not want to complicate matters by being entangled with a possessive partner. They may love it in the beginning, but eventually they all want to settle down. That's been my observation. Number 3, you're expecting to meet someone deserving of your fabulousness. Your fabulousness? You're magnificent. So why would you bother to be with someone who does not match you? Or perhaps you wait for your fellow soul and it will satisfy you with nothing less. After all, how many dates and relationships are beneficial if you can't envision a future with that partner? Translation here, you should be picky. You should get that guy who meets everything on the giant checklist of 52 items he has to have in order to qualify for your attention. So you're not picky, you're being just right. Number 4, you don't need a man to validate your life. Spoken like every single bitter single woman. You could think occasionally it would be great to have a partner in crime, but you don't spend all your time chasing after a man. Nor does it feel awful. You rather live your life and don't allow it to turn to find anybody. Number 5, you can't tolerate men's foolishness. This is not surprising. You aren't easily intimidated. Therefore, you'll never put up with sexist or immature attitudes. You are intolerant to people who are manipulators, liars, hypocrites, cheaters, or anything else that identifies a fake person. Well, hang on here. Let's see here. So, women are not manipulators. Women are not liars. Women are not hypocrites. Women are not cheaters. Last time I checked, it works both ways. Can't tolerate a man's foolishness. Yeah, there are guys out there that act like boneheads, but a lot of guys certainly don't. But there are certainly a lot of foolish women out there. Number 6, the childhood goal of finding a lovely prince has become a foolish daydream. Well, that's one thing this lady says that I agree with. The whole Prince Charming thing, this is not a Disney movie. Life is not a Disney movie. You don't sit around waiting for them to come and save you. No, sir. You no longer fantasize about marrying a prince or on a majestic white horse who would save you from all the horrors. Your genuine love will not appear in a fairy tale. You seek it in a deep, meaningful, and successful relationship that entails much more than simply spending time with an attractive guy. When you grow up and set your fantasies aside, you realize how beautiful the surrounding people are with whom you may spend more time and perhaps even an occasional date. Number 7. Now listen to this one. You intimidate a lot of men. That's why you're single. It's because you intimidate, because they're nervous. They're nervous of you. They're nervous being around you. You are conscious of your strength, and you will not downplay the significance of your objectives and accomplishments merely to make a guy feel inferior, let alone behave as if you are ignorant and foolish to boost his confidence. Inferiority exists only if the guy shows it. If he instead loves, shares, respects, and encourages women to continue growing, there will never be a difference. So, okay, that's another reason why you're single, because you intimidate guys. Now, don't get me wrong, there are guys out there that will be intimidated by a darn good-looking woman. But I don't know many guys are intimidated by a woman's success. Sure, I'm sure there are, but come on here. This is really the advice that she's giving. Number 8, you have an extensive network of friends that distract you from dating. Yeah, a bunch of other friends that are single and can't get a guy as well. You may be less eager to locate a lover at every cost when you're a social person, often meet with friends, neighbors, coworkers, and even strangers daily. Wait for quality to arrive. In the meantime, enjoy your life and the company of those who love you. Well, let me tell you guys, I know plenty of women, 30s and 40s, that this has been their life for a big chunk of it. They've been super picky about guys. They have a giant checklist of all these qualities they want guys to have. They have very unrealistic, they set unrealistic value of themselves, and they wonder why they're alone. And they spend all their time being fabulous, as this article said, spending all their time with friends and family and all these other people like that. Meanwhile, father time is here. The clock is ticking, and next thing you know, they wake up in their 40s, and they're upset because they're alone. They don't have a family, all that stuff, and they blame the fact that there aren't good enough men out there. On. Meanwhile, they've been deluding themselves all these years. They listen to people like they write in this article, and this is why they're alone. Number 8, you are too enthusiastic about single life. I don't know a whole lot of women deep down that are very enthusiastic about the single life. Maybe for a very brief period of time. But again, as these big numbers come up like the big 3-0, a lot of them aren't very enthusiastic about the single life. Or maybe they were at that time, but they're in their 30s. Believe me, the big 4-0 coming up, they are not enthusiastic about the single life. They may put on the act that they're, but no, this is bullshit. It's hard to have anyone else in the picture when your life is already great. While you might want a partner, the reality is getting one will transform your life. Nothing's wrong with the modification, but you must do it in your own time as well. In other words, you got a lady that's set in her ways. The longer a woman, the older she gets, and she's been alone, and the more set in the ways that she is. This is an observation I've had, and truly her way or the highway. So she shoots herself in the foot when any good guy actually comes along, and in spite of her often probably pain in the ass ways, she shoots herself in the foot because my way or the highway, I'm not changing for anybody. Number 10, you are still figuring out if you like the opposite gender or the same gender. Well, of course, in today's world, they got to throw that in there. I think somebody knows darn well by a certain age whether they are attracted to or into the opposite sex or not. Okay? I mean, most people I've talked to that are in that situation, they knew when they were little kids. So come on here. This is just a bullshit excuse to throw in there. You're unsure about your sexual orientation, but you undoubtedly knew who you desire deep down, but you're reluctant to express it. Take your time figuring it out and be courageous enough to prove it. Like I said, most people usually know pretty early on. Number 11, you haven't moved on from your past relationship. It is that you are hesitant to embrace a new love because you are frightened of being hurt again, or that you are still hoping to reconcile with your ex. If you're in the first circumstance, I will advise you that each person acts differently, so don't generalize and believe that everyone will treat you the same way as your ex did. If you are in the second position, strive to reconcile, but if the individual no longer loves you, you must let them go. Love yourself and your mental health. Well, I can kind of actually agree with this one. This wasn't too unreasonable. Some people do get hooked up on their exes for a long time, depending on how long you're with them. And this goes both ways for men and women. But these, again, are just excuses to hold things up. Okay, that's a little more of a reasonable one here, but still. Number 12, you simply aren't prepared yet. In the last place, it's all fine for you to be honest and to acknowledge that you're not ready to be in a relationship. You know that now is not the moment. You know yourself. Perhaps even on a subconscious level, you understand that. You're not willing to take these further measures because you are avoiding commitment. There's nothing wrong with that. You can take all the time in the world until you're truly ready. And the sooner you acknowledge that, the sooner you can prevent problematic interactions. Why are you single? If you are a catch. Because gorgeous single females like you aren't scared to go through life alone or acknowledge they don't have anybody waiting for them at home. You are well aware that spending time with the wrong person would simply postpone the prospect of meeting the right person, so you're not scared to be patient. Again, this whole thing reminds me when you get a bunch of girls together and the one's upset about something and they try to convince her all these things that, let's be honest, deep down, I don't think they believe a word they're saying, but they just want to make her feel better. When a bunch of guys will be direct and honest and say, bro, this is why. Keep in mind that being single is a choice. Rather than thinking of yourself as dissatisfied or impatient, take satisfaction in your decision. The fact is that you'd rather be alone than with a man whom you're incompatible. Being single is a choice. One could say that, but also look, you get a 40-year-old woman who's 350 pounds. Believe me, her being single is not her choice. It's because no dude wants her. Okay? I mean, she could have all the greatest qualities in the world. She'd be really cool and fun to be around, and she could be loyal and have make good money, good position, all these things. But at the end of the day, it's not her choice. It's because she's 350 pounds. End of story. No guy wants that. unless he's 500 pounds and he's getting a catch because he's 500 pounds. There's a lot of confidence in stating that and meaning that's the type of assurance you want to exclude. That's the type of mindset that makes you feel valuable and not desperate. You'll be glad you waited for the perfect person when that moment arrives. Perfect person. Well, there is no such thing as a perfect person. That is the problem and the mentality nowadays, that you have all these gals that feel entitled to a guy that is considered to be perfect. Tens. Average women feel entitled to a top guy. Mathematically, that's impossible even for the hottest, most attractive women, outside and inside in personality. But come on here. But these are the articles these women write because they know they're going to get women that are probably unhappy. They're going to read these things. They'll make their money. They'll get their ad revenue from the Google AdSense when they see these articles. And they cater to them. But this article is just no different than a bunch of girls, like I said, trying to convince their friend a bunch of things they don't really think to make her feel better here. When you get a bunch of guys together, they'll say exactly what's on their mind. But anyhow, guys, that'll be a very entertaining thing to go over just to show you the mindset that is out there. You know, guys, we're direct to the point. We're going to say what we mean to our friends that are upset or worried or whatever the hell it is. Women, they're just going to delude. And, of course, it's not your fault that you're single. It's every other external reason known to man, that you're single. Anyhow, guys, that'll be a fun one to go over. So, all right, that is it for today. Be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.